Have you ever stopped to think about what it truly means to survive? Because look, there's a huge difference between being alive and truly living. And the story I'm going to tell you today will prove that in a way that will move you from beginning to end. Imagine the scene. A young American soldier, his camouflage uniform stained with dust, blood, and sweat, stepping onto American soil again after months in the hell of war. The explosions still echo in his ears. The smell of gunpowder still clings to his skin. That night in Fallujah, when the convoy was ambushed and he saw his best friend being hit right beside him. The morning he stepped inches from an IED buried in the road and only realized it afterward. The 6-hour firefight where the ammunition ran out and he had to hold his position using only courage and prayer. He survived it all. He escaped situations that were statistically impossible to survive. He carried wounded comrades under crossfire. He saw things that no human being should ever see. And now, finally, he is home. The family is there at the airport with colorful signs, tears of joy streaming down their faces, tight hugs trying to make up for all those months of absence and fear. The mother keeps repeating, "Thank God you're back." The father squeezes his hand with pride. Everything should be perfect now, right? The war is over. He won. He's home. But here's the truth no one tells you, and I need you to stay with me until the end, because this is important. He survived explosions, shootings, and the hell of war. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the enemy he would find at home. And that enemy was himself. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind? Ever had the feeling of being in a battle that no one around you can see? Then you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Because the physical war had ended in the Middle East, but the psychological war, that had just begun. While everyone celebrated the hero returning from the war, no one could see the invisible battlefield raging inside that man 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every night he returned to that dusty street where everything went wrong. Every night, he heard the cries of his comrades for help. Every night, he relived that moment when he had to make impossible decisions in fractions of a second. Life or death decisions that now haunted him in every silence. The nightmares that woke him screaming, drenched in cold sweat. His hands trembling uncontrollably when he heard a helicopter passing by. The panic that exploded in his chest when he saw an abandoned backpack on the sidewalk. Because there in Iraq, that could mean instant death. The total inability to connect with the people he loved most. Because how do you explain the weight of having held a friend in your arms while life slipped away from him? And you know what's even scarier? He looked around and saw everyone smiling, living their normal lives, complaining about traffic, arguing about which series to watch on the weekend. And he simply couldn't go back to that world. It was as if there was a thick glass separating him from everyone else. He was there, physically present, but completely absent at the same time. Trapped between two worlds, one that no longer exists and another where he doesn't fit in. The transformation that happened to this soldier goes far beyond what you imagine. It's not just a war story. It's a story about what happens when you completely lose who you were and need to find a reason, any reason, to keep breathing. And what you're about to discover may surprise you in a way you never expected. Because this isn't just his story. This is the story of thousands of American veterans who return home after facing the unthinkable in combat and discover that the hardest battle is yet to come. A silent battle, an invisible battle, a battle that many lose. But don't worry, because what happened next will show you something extraordinary about the human capacity to rise from its own ashes. So take a deep breath, because now I'm going to take you on this journey from the very beginning. And before I continue telling you this story that will touch every fiber of your being, I need a favor from you. Seriously, if this topic resonates with you, if you've somehow felt this emptiness, this disconnection, Or if you know someone who has gone through something similar, whether a veteran or someone who has faced their own inner demons, leave a comment below about what has resonated with you the most so far. It can be a word, a phrase, a heartfelt confession. I read every comment. And more importantly, other people watching also read them. And you have no idea how one of your comments could be exactly what someone needed to read today. How many times have you read something written by a stranger online that made you feel less alone? That's right. You could be that person for someone right now. And look, if you feel that this content is different, that it's worth continuing to follow real stories that deeply touch the human soul, click that subscribe button below. Because your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of content that really matters. It's not empty clickbait. It's not superficial entertainment. These are stories of real people fighting real battles. And if you could also leave a like, it really helps the video reach more people who need to hear this message. Because I'm absolutely certain that there's someone on your timeline, someone you know, who is going through a silent war right now and doesn't know how to ask for help. This video could be the light that person needs to see today. All right? So now follow me, because I'm going to show you who this soldier was before the war completely transformed him. And when you learn his story, you'll understand why what came after was so devastating. His name was Jake Morrison, 28 years old, born and raised in Cedar Falls, Iowa. You know those small American towns where everyone knows everyone? Where you grow up playing in the same streets, going to the same church on Sundays, where your parents have known your friends' parents forever? It was exactly that kind of place. Simple, safe, predictable. Jake was the kind of kid you looked at and thought, that guy has a future. He played American football on the school team. He wasn't the best player, but he was the most dedicated. The kind of guy who arrived earliest to practice and left last. He'd had a girlfriend since high school, Sarah, blonde hair, wide smile, daughter of the owner of the local pharmacy. The two were inseparable. Everyone in town was already betting that they would get married, have children, and build a life right there in Cedar Falls. Jake's father had worked at the John Deere tractor factory for over 30 years. A simple man, of few words, but firm in his word. His mother was an elementary school teacher, the kind all the students loved. Jake had a younger brother, Tommy, 15 years old, who completely idolized him. Everything Jake did, Tommy wanted to do too. After school, Jake started working in a mechanic's shop while figuring out what to do with his life. He wasn't rich, but he didn't lack anything either. It was an ordinary life, you know? One of those lives that we sometimes underestimate, but which deep down has immense value precisely in its simplicity, its predictability, the security of waking up every day knowing who you are and where you belong. But Jake felt he needed to do something bigger, something that would give real meaning to his existence. He watched the news about what was happening in the Middle East, heard stories of courage and sacrifice, and it moved him. He wanted to serve. He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to honor his country. At 22, Jake made a decision that would change everything. He enlisted in the United States Army. The family was divided. The father, despite his fear, had pride written all over his face. The mother cried for days. But deep down, she understood. Sarah begged him not to go, but promised to wait. Tommy said that when he turned 18, he would also enlist. It was October 2019 when Jake boarded the bus that would take him to basic training. The hidden truth that no one at that farewell in the terminal knew was that the Jake who was leaving would never return. Physically, yes, but the essence of that boy from Iowa would remain buried somewhere in the Iraqi desert. The training was tough, but Jake excelled. He had discipline, courage, and most importantly, he truly believed in what he was doing. He believed he was defending freedom, protecting innocence, doing the right thing. This purposeful mindset kept him steadfast, even in the most difficult moments. In March of 2020, Jake was assigned to Iraq as part of an infantry unit. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because what happened there changed not only Jake, but reveals something about human nature that we need to understand. In the first few months, Jake was still able to maintain some connection with who he was. He wrote letters to Sarah every week, sent emails to Tommy full of edited stories, softened versions of the reality he lived. He called his mother whenever he could, just to hear her voice saying that everything was all right at home. But little by little, week after week, mission after mission, something began to change. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow process, like a silent erosion of the soul. The first time Jake saw a body torn apart by an explosion, he vomited. The 10th time, he just went on with his work. This involuntary transformation of human sensitivity into mechanical indifference is one of the cruelest behind-the-scenes aspects of war that nobody tells you about. Jake lost his first close friend in June. Marcus, a 24-year-old guy from Detroit, who had just found out he was going to be a father. An ambush on a street in Baghdad. Marcus was laughing at a joke Jake had told literally 3 seconds before it all happened. 1 second of laughter, the next second, eternal silence. Jake carried his body to the vehicle, his hands covered in his friend's blood. That night, he couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He just sat in the dark, staring at his own hands, trying to process the impact of it all. But there was no time to process. There was no space for mourning. The next day, there was another mission, another patrol, another risk. The war machine doesn't stop for you to cry. So you swallow it, you push it down, you build walls around what you feel, because if you let yourself really feel it, you'll go crazy right there. In September, Jake's unit was conducting a sweep operation in Fallujah when everything fell apart. It was a scorching afternoon, the kind of heat that makes you feel like the very air is on fire. They were checking an abandoned building when they came under fire from multiple positions. It was a trap, coordinated, lethal. The shootout lasted for hours. Jake watched 3 comrades fall beside him. One of them was Thompson, 19 years old, from Montana, who had joined the Army because he wanted to pay for college. Thompson was shot in the neck. Jake tried to stop the bleeding, but there was too much blood. Thompson looked into his eyes and whispered, "Tell my mother that I..." and couldn't finish the sentence. Jake held his hand until the end. It was 3:47 p.m. He'll never forget that time because that's when he looked at the clock and thought time should have stopped. But it didn't. The world kept spinning as if nothing had happened. That night, just when it seemed the worst was over, came the explosion. A mortar hit their position. Jake was thrown against a wall. He woke up with his ears ringing, the taste of blood in his mouth, unable to hear anything but a sharp, constant whistle. When his vision returned, he saw what remained of Sergeant Williams sprawled on the ground. Williams was 42 years old, had 3 children, and was 2 months away from returning home. It was at that moment, that night in Fallujah, that Jake lost more than friends. He lost pieces of his soul. He lost the belief that the world makes sense. He lost the innocence of thinking you can control anything. He lost the version of himself that believed in happy endings. The revelations that war brings are not glorious. They are brutal. They are definitive. They are irreversible. Jake completed his shift because he had to. He operated on autopilot. He followed orders. He carried out missions. But inside, he was already broken into 1,000 pieces. He stopped writing to Sarah. He stopped calling his family. On the rare calls he made, his voice was monosyllabic, empty. His mother would ask if everything was all right, and he would answer yes with a voice that clearly said no. In February of 2021, Jake boarded the plane back home. Medals on his chest, scars all over his body. But the worst scars were the invisible ones. As the plane crossed the Atlantic, he looked out the window and felt absolutely nothing. No relief, no joy, no fear, just a deep, consuming emptiness. The airport was packed when he arrived. His mother was crying uncontrollably, hugging him as if she never wanted to let go. His father squeezed his hand and said, "Welcome back, son." His voice choked with emotion. Tommy had grown. He was almost as tall as him now, his eyes shining with admiration. Sarah was there too, as beautiful as he remembered, but there was something different in her gaze, a mixture of hope and fear. "You came back to me," she whispered as she hugged him. Jake hugged her back, but it was like hugging through that thick glass I mentioned before. He was there, but he wasn't. Everyone celebrating around them, welcome back hero signs, American flags, people clapping. And Jake just wanted to disappear. The first few days at home were strange. Everyone treated him differently. Carefully. Reverently. As if he were made of crystal and could break at any moment. Or perhaps as if he were a bomb that could explode. Both perceptions were correct, in a way. The family made his favorite foods, tried to talk about normal things, tried to bring him back to their reality. But Jake couldn't care less which football team was winning the championship or which neighbor had bought a new car. At night, the nightmares began. No, they didn't begin. They exploded. Every night was the same. He was back in Fallujah. He held Thompson as blood trickled between his fingers. He heard Marcus laughing a second before it was all over. He saw Williams's remains. He saw the faces of Iraqi children who had been caught in the crossfire. He saw it all again in vivid, cruel, merciless detail. He would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of his chest. His mother would rush to his room, but Jake couldn't let her in. He couldn't let anyone see him like that. So he would lock the door and sit in the dark until dawn, trembling, waiting for the sun to rise, as if the light could somehow drive away the demons. During the day, it wasn't any better. Any loud noise made him jump and seek cover. A car making a noise in the street, and he was instantly in combat mode, heart racing, muscles tense, ready to fight or flee. He couldn't stay in crowded places. The supermarket was a nightmare. Too many people, too much noise, too many places where a threat could be hiding. His military mind never switched off. Sarah tried to help. She really tried. She planned romantic dates like they used to. She took him to the places they used to go. She tried to kiss him, hug him, reconnect him with the love they once had. But Jake couldn't feel. It was as if the part of him capable of loving, of feeling tenderness, of experiencing joy had died in Fallujah along with his friends. One night, after yet another tense dinner where Jake barely touched his food, Sarah finally broke down. "You're not here, Jake. You may be physically sitting in front of me, but you're not here. Where are you? Because I'm trying to reach you and I can't. I don't know how to reach you." Jake looked at her and saw tears streaming down her face, and he felt nothing. He knew he should feel something. He knew he should care that the woman he loved was suffering. But it was as if all the emotions were happening on the other side of that glass. He could see, but he couldn't touch. He couldn't feel. "I don't know where I am, Sarah," was all he could manage to say. And it was the most honest truth he had told since he returned. The anger outbursts started without warning. Little things would set him off. Tommy left the bathroom light on one night, and Jake yelled at him for 15 minutes about waste and irresponsibility. His father suggested Jake look for a job, and Jake smashed a plate against the wall. His mother asked if he wanted to talk, and he locked himself in his room for 2 days. The war was over outside. Iraq was thousands of miles away. But inside Jake, the war continued 24 hours a day. Every second, every minute, every hour. He was constantly in survival mode, constantly on high alert, constantly expecting the next explosion, the next attack, the next death. His family didn't understand. How could they? They weren't there. They didn't see what he saw. They didn't do what he did. They didn't bear the weight of the impossible decisions, the lives lost, the overwhelming guilt of having survived when better men died. His journey was completely solitary, even surrounded by people who loved him. Jake felt completely alone. And the worst part was that part of him wanted to be alone. Because being around people meant pretending. It meant trying to be normal. It meant putting on a mask and playing the version of himself that they expected to see. And he was exhausted from pretending. 2 months after returning, Sarah came to his house. Jake knew from the way she stood on the porch, arms crossed and eyes red, what was about to happen. "I can't take it anymore, Jake. I tried. God knows I tried. But you won't let anyone in. You won't let anyone help you. And I can't just stand here watching you destroy yourself and do nothing about it." She took off the promise ring he had given her 6 years ago and placed it on his hand. "I will always love the boy you were. But this man in front of me, I don't know who he is, and I don't think you know either." Jake watched her drive away. He watched her car disappear around the corner, and he felt that emptiness grow even larger. Another piece of him was gone, but this time he felt something. A pang of pain, small, distant, but real. And in a twisted way, that pain was almost a relief, because it meant he could still feel something. It meant that maybe he wasn't completely dead inside. But that small spark of hope didn't last, because Jake discovered something that calmed the nightmares, something that silenced the voices in his head, something that made that glass feel a little less thick: whiskey. It started with 1 shot at night to help him sleep, then 2, then 3. Then he stopped counting. Alcohol didn't solve anything, but at least it made the pain less. It made everything blurry, distant, easier to bear. He started drinking in the mornings too, just a little, just to ease the sharp edge of the day. But the amount needed to achieve that effect was constantly increasing. His mother found the bottles hidden in his room. She cried. She begged him to seek help. She talked about therapy, about VA programs, about support groups for veterans. Jake promised he would stop. He promised he would seek help. And he genuinely believed he would. But the next day, the first thing he did was buy more whiskey. His father tried the hard approach. "You're a Morrison. We don't give up. We don't drown our sorrows in alcohol. You're a soldier, for God's sake. Get up and fight." But that only made Jake feel worse, because he knew he was letting everyone down. He knew he was failing. And the more he failed, the more he drank, so he wouldn't have to feel the crushing shame of failing. Tommy stopped looking at him with admiration. Now it was pity, or worse, fear. Jake saw it in his younger brother's eyes. The boy was afraid of him, afraid of what he had become. And that broke something fundamental in Jake. He always wanted to be an example for Tommy. And now he was an example, yes, but the wrong kind. Jake started missing appointments. He lost the job he got at the garage because he showed up drunk or simply didn't show up at all. He stopped leaving the house. He stopped showering regularly. The days blended into an alcoholic haze where nothing mattered, and everything hurt at the same time. One night, 6 months after returning from Iraq, Jake was in his room, 3 empty bottles on the floor, a 4th half empty in his hand. And for the first time, he had a thought that deeply frightened him. It would be easier if he simply ceased to exist. No one would need to worry anymore. No one would have to watch him self-destruct. The pain would stop. The emptiness would stop. Everything would stop. He had a gun in the closet, standard service that he had brought back. He picked up the gun, sat on the bed, and simply stared at it for hours. The final decision hanging on an invisible scale, a tiny part of him screaming, "Don't do it," while the larger part whispered, "It would be so much easier." Data on veterans who attempt or commit suicide are frighteningly high. Studies show that approximately 20 veterans die by suicide every day in the United States. 20 per day. These are people who survived the war, but failed to survive the peace. Jake was seconds away from becoming a statistic. But at that moment, the phone rang. Jake almost didn't answer, but something made him pick it up. It was a number he didn't recognize. A hoarse voice on the other end. "Jake Morrison? Is this Private Jake Morrison? Who wants to know? This is David Chen. I served with Marcus. You were there when he died. I was on a different operation that day, but I heard what happened. I heard you held him, that he didn't die alone. Jake couldn't speak. His throat had completely closed up. David continued. I'm going through a tough time here, man. I came back 4 months ago and it's impossible. And I remember Marcus always talking about you. He said you were the kind of guy who didn't leave anyone behind. So I thought, maybe you'd understand. Maybe you could. I don't know. Tell me that things get better? Because I can't take it anymore, man. I really can't. And at that moment, Jake looked at the gun in his hand and realized something fundamental. He could give up on himself. But David was on the other end of the line, hanging by a thread, pleading for help. And Jake knew with absolute certainty that if he ended the call now, if he gave up now, David would do exactly what Jake was thinking of doing. This realization was like a punch to the gut. His friends had died. Marcus, Thompson, Williams, and so many others. They had no choice. But Jake did. David did. And Jake realized something that would change everything. His friends didn't die so that he could waste the second chance they didn't have. Comment below, second chance, if this part resonated with you in any way. Jake put the gun back in the closet, and he started talking to David. They talked for 3 hours that night. They didn't resolve anything. They didn't heal anything. But neither of them was alone during those 3 hours. And sometimes, that's all we need to get through another day. That call was the turning point. Jake realized that if he wanted to help David, he first needed to help himself. The next day, with trembling hands and a faltering voice, he called Veterans Affairs and scheduled the first appointment. It was the hardest thing he had ever done, and that was coming from a guy who had faced combat zones. Jake's journey of rebuilding wasn't linear. There were days when he took 3 steps back. Therapy at the VA was brutal at first. Talking about Fallujah, about the faces of his dead friends, about the guilt of being alive was like tearing shards of glass from his own chest. It hurt in a different way than the war, but it hurt nonetheless. But little by little, week after week, session after session, Jake began to rebuild. Not the person he was before. That person had died in Iraq and wasn't coming back. But a new version. A version that carried the scars, but was learning to live with them instead of dying because of them. The first day Jake went without having a nightmare, he cried. He cried with relief, with gratitude, with surprise that this was possible. He started attending support groups with other veterans, and there, in that circle of men and women who had seen the same horrors, Jake finally didn't need to explain. They simply knew. The reconnection with the family was gradual. A real conversation with his father about what he had been through. A sincere hug with his mother without pushing her away. An afternoon playing basketball with Tommy, truly laughing for the first time in over a year. Small victories that built something bigger. Jake found a new purpose. He began working as a volunteer counselor for veterans who were going through what he had gone through. He transformed all that pain, all that suffering into fuel to prevent others from falling into the same hole. The soldier who almost lost himself was now literally saving others from getting lost. Over the past 3 years, Jake has helped more than 50 veterans find treatment, support, and hope. He has helped reunite families on the brink of collapse. He has been there during critical moments where a connection, a conversation, a presence made the difference between life and death. And do you know the powerful truth in all of this? Jake's story shows us that the real battle isn't just surviving the war. It's finding reasons to live after it. It's transforming pain into purpose. It's understanding that our deepest wounds can become our greatest strength if we choose to use them to help others heal theirs. Because we all have our inner wars, don't we? Maybe you haven't been to Iraq or Afghanistan, but you've faced your own battlefields, your own demons. Your own "I can't take it anymore" moments. And Jake's story shows you that no matter how deep you've fallen, no matter how broken you feel, there's always a way back. Always. Jake Morrison escaped the battlefield and entered the most difficult phase of his life. And he won. Not because he was stronger than everyone else, not because he had superpowers, but because at a crucial moment when it would have been infinitely easier to give up, he chose to keep fighting. He chose to live, and that choice saved not only his life, but dozens of other lives as well. Today, Jake is 31 years old. He works full-time helping veterans. He went back to school studying psychology. He reconnected with his family in a deeper and more real way than before the war. He carries the scars, he still has difficult days, but he is alive, he is present, he is making a difference. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's this. No matter what you're facing right now, no matter how impossible it seems, you have a choice. The same choice Jake had that night with the gun in his hand and David on the other end of the line. You can give up, or you can take one more step, just one more, and then another, and another. If you've stayed with me this far until the end of this whole journey, I want to ask you something. Write in the comments, "I'm with you until the end," because I want to know that this message reached you. I want to know that, in some way, Jake's story made sense to you too. And if you felt that every minute of this video was worth it, leave a like. It's not just for the algorithm. It's because when you like it, you're telling me that this type of content matters, that real, raw, true stories have a place here, and that motivates me to keep bringing more. Subscribe to the channel too, because I bring stories like this every week. Stories of real people who faced the impossible and found a way to move forward. No filter, no romanticization, just the raw, unfiltered truth about human resilience. And look, there's a video right here that complements this topic in a way you need to see. It's about other veterans who transformed trauma into purpose, each in their own unique way. Click and stay with me there. I'm sure it will touch you too. Thank you for staying until the end. Truly. Until the next video.